Dlaczego? Hello and welcome to another episode of Ferret 64 with me, your host, Yemmy the Ferret. Ferret 64 is the one-stop shop for video game news, occurrences, first impressions, and so much more. And we're gonna jump right into it this time, folks, as we usually do. We got plenty of things on the docket today. Starting out with some games that I've been playing this past week, but moving into some of the news, and then finally some of the stuff that's coming soon. So let's jump right in with that first section that I already mentioned. What have I been playing this past week? Alright, so there's one game on my list in particular that has been out for a while that I've recently got back into playing, and I don't know how long I'm going to play it for, so it's not like I'm not telling people to go out and buy it, especially because it's still $70 for some reason. I feel like it should be reduced to $20 or even free at this point. But Battlefield 2042, it's been getting a lot of updates. It's on like season number 7 now in its like live service model, and I don't know. They've made a lot of improvements to the game, and it does play a lot better now. I think it's more balanced now. I think there's a lot of good stuff that they've done to it. But there's still a lot of things that bug me about it here or there, which is why I'm not telling you to like go out and, you know, buy it now. Either wait for a sale or just wait for the next game at this point. Like I was talking about last week, the biggest Battlefield ever is in development. So we'll see what all that means. But sounds like they're starting to get the ball rolling, and they've probably been working on it for a while, but whatever. We'll see what it is. But yeah, Battlefield 2042. When this was originally announced and the beta came out, I was very excited about it. I mean, it feels like a long time ago at this point, but I did buy the game day one digitally. I didn't buy it physically. Digitally for whatever reason. I don't know why. But that actually came around and was actually a good thing, because now I can just kind of boot up Battlefield whenever I want and then play other things on the PlayStation without having to get up and change out a disc every time I want to do that. But that's besides the point. I've been enjoying my time with the game. I'm only like level 20 or something like that. But you know, I'm enjoying the different weapons that are available. You can use any weapon with any class, which originally was a bit of a criticism by me, because I like the idea of certain classes having certain weapons to use. It allows you to change things up, change your whole gameplay style up. But now you can use an assault rifle with the scout class, or you can use an assault rifle with the support class. It's not just LMGs for them. It's not just SMGs for, you know, whoever. Even though they have certain affinities towards those certain weapons, it still says that, you know, like a support class, they're really good with LMGs. It's like, I don't know, I haven't really felt a difference. Like, I've been using a marksman rifle with the support class, because in order to get one of the submachine guns, you got to get like 15 marksman rifle kills less than 25 meters away. So I've kind of been trying to do that. So it's not like I really see a difference when I'm using a different weapon that's not like a class favorite. But I don't know. It's still one of those things. It's like, okay, well, I understand why they're not doing that, but you know, it still does take a little bit away from the class structure. At that point, it's like, why even have classes? Just go to the perks. You know, just go to a perk system. But instead of what they did is they have a there's like characters you can use, and right now there's like 3 characters per class. So the 3 in the support have varying things for the support class, and you know, like they have one guy has more ammunition in his ammunition packs. Another person has when they revive someone, like the person revived gets full ammo in their primary and secondary. Another person has, I forget, but you know, a bunch of those types of things. And I don't mind it. You know, it makes it like the whole like character system makes it almost better than Call of Duty in a way, because the characters in Call of Duty are just skins. There's nothing special about them. Whereas in Battlefield, it's like, well, when you're using a specific character, now you have a specific attribute to them, which is fine. It's nice, I guess. I don't know. I don't really care about that stuff. But where I do start to care is there's one character in the assault class that has a cluster grenade, and it is overpowered as all hell. And I know that these characters are supposed to have overpowered weapons because they are, they're like the operators from Black Ops 4, right? But the cluster, this cluster grenade is just so powerful. It's not even funny when people are launching that thing off. It kills everything in the area, and I've been doing a lot of the close quarters conquest mode, which is a throwback all the way to Battlefield 3 when they did the close quarters maps for the first time ever in the game. So you're still playing on like relatively large maps. It's just they're condensed and there's no vehicles. So like if you're playing in like this one that's kind of reminds me of the Metro from Battlefield 3. When the cluster grenades start going off, it's crazy. It's so hectic. And then there's another class that has a ballistic shield that is also just ridiculously hard to get around unless you catch them by surprise. And it's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, they could have toned these things down. They could have made them not as overpowered. And these are the characters that everyone is using, except for me. I'm using other characters, but it seems like the majority of people are either using those two people or the person with the grappling hook. But whatever. I was very hyped for this game when it originally came out. The trailers were spectacular. The beta actually was really good. And then the release of the game was just a mess. Lagging everywhere, frame rate drops. I remember unlimited vehicle spawns, even in like the 64 multiplayer maps. There was like unlimited vehicle spawns as long as you had the tickets to do it, and it got really hectic really fast with all like the hover cars and stuff like that. So those were like the weakest vehicle, but they're also the cheapest at like 100 tickets or something like that. So that was one of the things that bugged me, is like just the amount of vehicles, and it seems like they've slimmed those things down. On the 64 multiplayer maps, there's you can get one aerial ship, one tank, and some support stuff. And the support, like, it's all maxed out at like 1 or 2, which is nice. If you go to the 128 multiplayer, there is more available for you to use, but it's still capped at a point. Whereas before, it was not capped. It was just like uncapped. Buy as many as you want, put as many as you want into the field. It's too chaotic. It's too crazy. It makes infantry useless for the most part because there's just so much shit going on. So I've been having fun with it. Of course, I'll still have some matches where I'm a bit frustrated, as you do with any first-person shooter PvP game. There are some times where your team just fails miserably the entire time, and you can't get out of a spawn, or you can't seem to do anything right. You can't capture anything. But there's a lot of times where I'll have a very decent map where it's kind of neck and neck, and that's the most fun out of the entire assortment of things you can do. Like, sure, it's fun to kind of dominate an entire game of breakthrough or whatever, but it's more fun to have an even spread where there's some points where it's a bit of a stalemate, and then you push, and then you pull back, and yeah, there's still those games like that really reminds me why I loved Battlefield in the first place, and that harkens all the way back to Battlefield 1942 with the PC. I remember having that game on the PC, and then I bought Battlefield 2 on the PC, and my love for the franchise kind of grew from there with Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3 and 4, and I mean Hardline was not good. I think in hindsight that's still not a good game. Battlefield 1 was fine. I had fun with that, and then Battlefield 5 was just not good, and then this Battlefield 2042 kind of continued that trend, at least at the beginning, of not being good, but it has eventually gotten better. Once again, it's not perfect. I wouldn't say to run out and purchase it for $70 right now, because I don't think it's worth that at all. It still doesn't have the content that it needs to be a $70 game. The Portal mode is cool, but I haven't even touched it since I reinstalled the game. And I've really only been playing like the Close Quarters Conquest along with some Breakthrough, which is just in general fun. But it doesn't, like, there's not enough game modes, there's not enough content to the game to reasonably say, like, yeah, this is a $70 experience. It's more like, 40 brand new, 20 used. You know what I'm saying? Like it should be at $20 right now or less. And it was on PlayStation Plus for a month. I forget which month it was. It must have been a good a minute ago because no one remembers it being on PlayStation Plus except me. But yeah, it's just one of those games I feel like it's overpriced right now, and if they want to get like a final push for the game, now that they're working on like a new Battlefield game, I think it's time for them to, you know, lower the price. In terms of gunplay and everything like that, it all feels fine. Nothing to really report on about that. It feels like a first-person shooter. That's about it. So the first of the couple games that I've actually played and I finished this week is Heading Out, and this game came out a couple weeks ago now, but I didn't get around to playing it until now because I was playing Nether Crab's Treasure and all that. Heading Out is a game that I really was hoping for more from. The trailers and stuff made it look pretty cool with the black and white aesthetic, with the red in the background, and the stuff really stood out because there was bright yellows and reds on the road, and I thought that it was going to be like this game where it was advertised as like a roguelite driving game, and what you got is not exactly what I would say is what they showed in the trailers for the most part. Is there driving? Yeah, but instead of driving across the country on your own, like you actually driving the vehicle, there's races that you do that last the length of a song, and then you go to like a map and you chart out your course where you want to go to. And a lot of times when you're going from location A to location B, it doesn't. You can't control your car really. You control how fast you go there, which is how much money you spend on gas. And if you reach zero, of course, you're shit out of luck. And there's like some other things you need to be careful of, like your energy level. If you need to rest and all that stuff. And then there's also your fear is following you. So the road behind you gets eaten away by your fear, and if you get overrun by your fear, you got to outrace it. But that's the thing. It's cooler in concept than it actually is in actuality, because a lot of the time it's just you holding down the right trigger, trying to drive fast enough to outrun the fear, but not fast enough to get caught by the cops and have to do another boring race. The thing about this game is it's too arcade for me to really enjoy it. The racing is just... I'm sorry, the racing is too bland for me to enjoy it. I like a good arcade racing game, but this game is literally just hold the trigger to go, release the brake, that's it. There's no ramming, there's no like there's some like skill-based things like in a Burnout game where it's like, oh, you did a close call there, you squeezed between two cars. But that stuff it doesn't really matter in the long run. And I was really hoping for more of like a game where you're actually driving across the country, doing like roguelite things like swerving around vehicles and making sure that you do all this stuff that you need to do with your car. And sure, maybe having some story moments on the way. Like there are story moments on the map, but it's all just text and a few pictures here and there, and you do like a yes or no answer, and then you are on your way. And it's one of those things that's like I really was hoping for more out of this game. It just does not do what I want it to do. You know, I really wanted it to be more than what it is, and what it is kind of boring. Like it could have been like a Burnout, it could have been like a Stuntman, it could have been like any number of other racing games out there, but instead it isn't like that. It's not like any of those games I just mentioned. It's not even like Need for Speed. It's just a dull and slow game, and it got boring very quickly. And they force you to do 4 runs of this game in order to get the full quote unquote story. And I was really over it by the third time I was going through it, because nothing was changing. Literally, I was getting the same stories. I was racing in the same locations. The cops were pretty inconsistent. It was really annoying. It started to get really annoying, and yeah, I gave it a 2 out of 5 at the end of the day. I don't recommend this one, and that's all I gotta say about that. Another game that I played and beat this week was Mullet MadJack. Mullet MadJack. Now, talk about a game that's substance and value. Heading Out definitely had like the visual flair, but it didn't have the gameplay. Mullet MadJack has the flair, has the gameplay, has the really awesome soundtrack, and it has a decently good story to tie it all together. And it's also a roguelite. So but it's not a hardcore roguelite. It's pretty much like you go up 10 flights in a skyscraper and then you get a checkpoint. And if you die anywhere between the next 10 floors, you have to go back to floor 10 or whatever, you know. But Mullet MadJack, it's a very high octane, a very fast kind of game. It's a boomer shooter, but it's not like an arena boomer shooter like your Dooms and your stuff like that. It's more like I mean, man, I wouldn't even say it's like it's not even like Wolfenstein in that way either, where you have like rooms to go into. It's pretty much just hallways. You go down hallways, and there's a game coming out later this year, I think, called Angerfoot, which I feel like this game is kind of treading on Angerfoot's vibe because it's kind of got the same thing to it, where you kick down a door, you shoot whoever's in the hallway, and then you move on to the next door and you kick down that door. And then eventually you get to the elevator, which takes you to the next floor. And I feel like that's a similar vibe to what we've seen from Angerfoot, where you kick down a door, you shoot whoever's in the room, then you move to the next room. So Mullet MadJack kind of has that same style, where you're going hallway to hallway, kicking down the door, killing whoever's in there with various weapons, and moving on. So you start out with a basic pistol, and you can do headshots and crotch shots and chest shots and whatever. You know, as long as you kill someone, it's good, because you only have 10 seconds to live, and you need to kill people or robots. They're technically like androids or whatever. Rogue AI, I guess you could say. You kill them and you get 3 seconds per kill, and you can of course do different things to get more seconds per kill. Like you can actually get upgrades to improve how many seconds you get per kill. So if you get the environmental one, where you get more seconds from killing environmentally, you got to kick people into like fans and electricals, outlets and TVs and stuff like that. Those will give you extra points. If you get headshots, if you get crotch shots, you can get extra score for that as well. And as long as you have any time remaining at the end of it all, you're good to go for the next floor. You get reset back to 10 seconds. As you go higher in the floors, you get more upgrades. You can change your weapons out. There's a katana, there's a Uzi, there's a shotgun, there's a railgun, there's a plasma rifle, and there's a machine gun. And all those kind of handle in different ways. It's actually kind of impressive how different each weapon feels and how each weapon handles. At the end of the day, I end up sticking with the pistol fully upgraded for the end of the game, because you get unlimited ammo in the pistol. You don't have to reload it at all. And I found that saving the time not to reload was a very good thing. Now, the other upgrades for the weapons do also work really well. Like the shotgun, you get like a double barrel instead of a clip, a magazine. So you reload after every shot, but that means that you don't have to like spend your time reloading it all together. The machine gun gets some faster reloads and faster weapon bullet spray. The rail gun is like a charge up kind of thing. It's usually a one hit kill, but it takes forever to charge up. So that gets improvements on that. The Uzi is actually pretty good, all the way leveled up too. It gets more accurate and more ammunition. The katanas, I don't think I've really leveled them up yet, but they are pretty much like a 1/slash kill, which, is kind of fun. You're also able to throw your katana. There's either fire katana or ice katana, and they do obviously what they say they do when you throw them. So one freezes enemies, the other one burns them alive. And yeah, I mean, it's a really crazy time. It definitely has an anime aesthetic from like the 90s, I think they're saying. So it's got like I guess it's a heavily inspired 90s anime aesthetic in there, and it definitely shows. It's not like it hides the fact that it's inspired by the 90s, but yeah, I mean from the character designs to the crazy like synthwave atmosphere going on, it's definitely got a lot. It's got a lot to look at, and it's also pretty crazy. And I found the story to be really entertaining. The boss fights were like not all unique, but they were pretty fun to do. And it really felt like you were getting this, like, even though the sense of progression is like only between the 10 floors, it really felt like you were getting somewhere by the time that you got up to like the 6th level or the 7th level, because things started to ramp up in difficulty. And then once you finish it all, there's an endless mode that you can play, which is actually pretty fun. I got to like floor 50 or something on my first try, which is, it gets pretty. I mean, the endless is definitely ramps it up faster than the regular campaign mode. So, and also it's like random levels too. So you don't even know what to expect. Like you could get a really easy level, or you could get one of the really hard levels towards the end. But the endless mode, I do see that it does have a bit of longevity to it, but it's not. It's probably not going to be something that I'm going to be playing for forever. You know, I feel like once I get high enough to maybe get the last reward for it, that might be it for it. But it is a fun time. I've been enjoying it a lot. I think that if you're a fan of crazy fast-paced first-person shooters, you're definitely gonna want to check out Mullet MadJack. It's not for the faint of the heart. It's got a lot of flashing lights. It's got a lot of like photosensitive warnings on it. Like every single time you load up the game and every like time you load up a level, it's like, hey, there's lots of flashing lights and there's a lot of patterns that might cause, seizures and stuff like that. And they definitely plaster that everywhere because it is like I said, it's a high octane. It's crazy at times. The music gets pumping. You're doing endless mode and you're just going floor to floor and you start to get into a groove and. Yeah, it's a crazy game. I really enjoyed it. I ended up giving it a 4.5 out of 5. It's really good. And last but not least, for like the new games that I've been playing this week is Arctic Egg. Arctic Eggs, and this is a game that I just saw on the Steam front page, and I was like, that's a goofy name, and I looked into it and I decided to buy it. It was like $5. And for $5, it's definitely a very unique and interesting game. I didn't really know what to expect going in because and the screenshots can only tell you so much about a game. But essentially, it's like it's based in the future where people are living in Antarctica because it's like the only livable place on Earth, and chickens have become like a source of like the only source of food other than like fish. So like the chicken's eggs and stuff like that is what's most precious in this society, and you are tasked to feed all the people of the little town that you live in with the eggs that you get from the chickens. So it's all about frying up eggs. Well, not really. You fry up eggs, sure, multiple eggs at a time with your frying pan. You can do it anywhere you want to, and a lot of the game is all about flicking your mouse in the right direction to get eggs to flip over and stuff to flip over so it cooks evenly on both sides. There are time restraints as well and other challenges to go across as well when you go through the game. So it starts off pretty easy. Eggs, bacon, tuna. But then it gets more difficult with canned tuna where you have to like flip the can over and pop it open. Cockroaches. You have to keep the cockroach in the pan. It's scurrying everywhere, trying to escape. Cigarettes. If the cigarette goes out while it's in the pan, you fail. You did it too slow. There was also like a frozen pizza you had to do, which was the size of the frying pan, which was pretty crazy. Later on, there's fish. The fish move as they're being cooked, so it's hard to keep them on one side. There's puffer fish that you need to cook, and they bounce everywhere, and they're an odd shape, and they'll roll off of your frying pan. Later on, there's like a club you go to, and you have to like try and balance beer bottles. And if you spill any beer outside of the frying pan, you lose. There's also like the worst thing was the glasses of water. Those were the worst because the ice cubes. If the ice cubes melt all the way in the frying pan, then you lose, and the ice cubes melt faster than anything else cooks. So you got to try and keep the ice, the cup with the ice in it up in the upright position while you're trying to flip the eggs and stuff like that. It gets pretty challenging, pretty quickly, and eventually you feed everyone, and then boom, bada bing, you get to go to Mount Everest and try and fry an egg on Mount Everest, right? And it's a very avant-garde kind of game. It's very bizarre at times. Like the dialogue is very weird. The character like animations are super weird. It's very PS1 era inspired in the graphics department with the character designs and character movements and stuff like that. It's very odd at times. It's very weird, but it's also got a lot of charm to it. It's got a lot of interesting things to say, I guess. And yeah, it's a goofy and weird game, and you know me, I kind of like these kind of more weird games. You know, I do enjoy my obscure kind of indie titles, and Arctic Eggs is one of those ones the kind of put on that list of weird games that Yemmy likes. And I gave it a 4 out of 5 in the end. It did get a little frustrating here and there, and like I said, the ice inside the cup was just a bit of a tipping point for me, really. When those started coming around, I was getting very frustrated, but I was able to work through it and get to the end of the game, and what more can you ask for? But yeah, for games that are bizarre and strange, this one definitely is not super high up there on the list of strange games that I've played, but it's definitely on that list. It's definitely on the list. Maybe not high on the list, but it's on that list. And it was decent. It was decent. And for games that we've finished on stream, I played Call of Duty 3. I replayed that on the channel. And I know I played this on YouTube back in the day, but I don't know. Randomly, I just wanted to, I wanted to play it again, and here we are. And even though I don't think that the game is like amazing, I don't think it's really good. I think it's kind of an average experience at the end of it all. It is one of those games that's very unique in the Call of Duty lineup, where it's got a lot of motion controls in it because that's the time frame that it came out in. It came out at the height of the Wii, and the PS3 had its motion controls, and of course the Wii had the Wii remotes. And of course, like, there's no motion controls with the Xbox 360, so it's all like quick time events with turning your stick and stuff like that. So it's a very odd Call of Duty game in the list of Call of Duty games. Not only because it's got all those motion controls in it, but also because it was never released on PC. It never had a PC version, which is very odd for a lot of different reasons. Because every single Call of Duty game has a PC version. As long as it's not a console exclusive like Big Red 1 or Final Fronts or something like that. And so it's very strange that Call of Duty 3, out of all the games, would not get a PC port. And I know that Call of Duty 2 on the Xbox and PC was different from the PS2 and GameCube version, but at least the PC had that version of Call of Duty 2. Whereas Call of Duty 3 just skips the PC, and it might be because of the engine that they use for the game. The engine they use is the same as Big Red 1, Finest Hour, and Final Fronts, so it's possible that those games didn't mesh too well with PCs, but I don't know. They probably could have made it work, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they just didn't want to do that. I don't know. But in the end, like, it's a very unique Call of Duty game because it really does showcase more sides of the war than usual. A lot of times it's the U.S. and it's the British and it's the Soviets. But in this game, it's the U.S., the British with the French resistance, Polish tankers, and the Canadian troops. And you don't really see a mesh of those factions too often in Call of Duty games, at least. I know there's like other games like that have multiple factions in it, but this one's for Call of Duty games. It's got the most diversity in terms of like regions. And different groups than I can remember. Probably up until Vanguard came out, it was the most like unique, group of characters to use for a Call of Duty game in terms of nationalities. But yeah, still like not great. there's a good amount that I could complain about the game, but in the end, it's like it's like a C tier, maybe even a B tier, probably a C tier, honestly. Yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 5. I don't know if I'll get back. I'll go back to it again in the near future, but and you never know. Maybe 5 years from now, I'll be like, I want to play Call of Duty again, Call of Duty 3 again, and we'll be at the same place we were 5 years before. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's in the news. I figured I'd start off with some good news this week, since it's been a couple of downer episodes. The Summer Games Fest is, of course, coming back sometime in June 7th. And Jeff Keighley put out the list of studios and developers that they were partnering with for the festivities. So this is not all the studios, but this is most of them, I would say. Let me just go through the list. 2K, Amazon Games, Annapurna Interactive, Arc Games, Atari, Bandai Namco Entertainment, Blumhouse Games, Boca Game Studio, Capcom, Day of the Devs, Deep Silver, Devolver Digital, Discord, Dolby, Electronic Arts, Embark Studios, Epic Games, Focus Entertainment, Funcom, Hoyoverse, I Am 8-Bit, Indie Angels, Inner Sloth, Iron Mace, Jayama Games, Level Infinite, Magic the Gathering, Meta, NCSoft, NetEase Games, Netflix Games, Nexon, Niantic, Plyon, PlayStation, Pocket Pair, Private Division, Razer, Recreate Games, Riot Games, S Games, Samsung Gaming Hub, Season Games, Sega, SNK, Steam, Sunblink, Supercell, Thunderful Games, Teamy Studio Group, Torn Banner Studios, Ubisoft, Uncapped Games, WB Games, and Xbox. All those and probably more will be around. It's a pretty nice list of studios, of course. It's pretty much every major studio. I believe, did Nintendo say they were going to be there? Or not? No, I don't think Nintendo's going to be there, but all these other studios are going to be there. All these other people are going to be there, publishers. So we'll see what they all have to talk about. Of course, we probably already know what some of them are going to be talking about. WB is probably going to be talking about multiverses. Ubisoft's going to be talking about Assassin's Creed and whatever else they have going on. PlayStation, it's kind of up in the air what they could be talking about. Same thing with Xbox, especially because Xbox is doing their own showcase like a week after or something like that, or maybe a week before. So yeah, we'll see what's going on. It's Summer Games Fest is an exciting time. It's not as exciting as like E3 was, in my opinion, but it's a nice big event. It seems to put a lot of spotlights on the smaller development and publishers. So that's all I can ask for. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty. The director behind Stellar Blade confirmed that the Sony costume conspiracy was a farce, essentially, just people making things up. In an interview with Game About, a Korean reporting website, he said, "I don't think that just because the costumes are vulgar doesn't necessarily mean that they're good. So this is something that was modified for quality. As a result, there are parts where eroticism is lessened or emphasized. This is the final product that we want to show as the intended result." So he said, adding tights to some outfits or having, less visible cleavage in others wasn't a change made to deny thirsty gamers. Instead, it was a change to make them look more stylish, putting some finishing touches on the costumes that were not ready to go before the game launched. And that's why they're a part of version 1 point whatever, right? And this is exactly what I said last time, that the costumes, if it was really Sony or PlayStation telling them to censor the costumes, then we wouldn't have the practically naked version of the character. We wouldn't have the bikini. We wouldn't have the upskirt shots for whatever. We wouldn't have the side boobs, and we wouldn't have the blah 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 blah. People are just putting their own narrative on, and their own spin on it, putting their own narrative into it. It's ridiculous that these people are so upset about costume changes when there's like a literal bikini that's even more revealing than the costumes that they were gawking over in the first place. And the fact that a lot of these people are so upset about a few costume changes that they are not playing the game anymore is just freaking bizarre. I mean, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? It's all stupid. I don't understand. I don't get it at all. The game speaks for itself in the gameplay, not in the costumes for the character. I mean, if the character had one costume and the costume was the one that she's wearing right now, no one would bat an eye. And let's say they did change to have like long sleeves on it by the end. Would people still be concerned about a little bit of cleavage being covered up? It's so ridiculous. It is really ridiculous. It's always been ridiculous. And the same people are not going to be satisfied by this answer, of course. Even though you can point out like 5 or 6 other costumes that are more revealing or more erotic, as the director said. It's just one of those things that I think people overreacted. They're putting their own spin on it, and They didn't think. I mean, they're not thinking clearly. Obviously, they're not thinking clearly about it because guess what? If it was Sony censorship, everything would be censored. It was a change that the developers wanted to do themselves, as said by the director of the game. And if you don't believe the director of the game, then you're not going to believe anyone. Moving on. It came out this past week that Final Fantasy 16, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, and Foam Stars did not meet expectations for Square Enix. They announced that Final Fantasy 16 did open in line with the company's targets, but later on, as sales started to dwindle, it failed to meet the subsequent goals. It is claimed that there is a PC port inbound, so we will probably be seeing it on PC pretty soon, if not within the next few months. Final Fantasy Rebirth also has failed to meet expectations, although there's no word on how the sales are doing right now. Square Enix did say that it is not close to meeting their expectations right now. I don't know if we'll see a PC port of that or even remake at this point, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. And then Foam Stars, which launched with PlayStation Plus, was obviously never going to reach sales targets for the game, especially now that the game has been out for a while. It's off of PlayStation Plus. They're trying to put it into the live service mode, and I don't think people are biting. And the only people who are biting are the ones that are the most into the game, which I think it does have a very limited number of people playing it at this point. When Callus and I went back to play it a few months ago, when we wanted to finish up the defense mode. We were struggling to find matches. Sometimes we would wait a minute or two in order to find a match, which is not good for a game that just came out the month prior. So they're saying that the games didn't necessarily flop. It's just they haven't met the goals that they set for the games, especially with how big the IPs are and how well Final Fantasy VII Remake did. They were expecting Rebirth to do double the numbers, I'm guessing. So we'll wait and see how that all turns out. But we already do know that Square Enix is planning to go aggressively multi-platform from now on. They're done just putting their games on PlayStation. They will now be putting their games on Xbox, Nintendo, and PC instead of allowing all their games to go to PlayStation, and then that's pretty much it. They do have a couple games being published on the Switch and stuff like that, but it's all smaller stuff that wouldn't affect wouldn't affect the standing that they have with PlayStation. The publisher said they will strive to maximize the acquisition of new users when launching a title, and that of recurring users after starting management of the game operation. I don't know what that exactly means. Maybe they're talking about Steam sales or something like that. I don't know. But I think the shift from quality over to quantity. I'm sorry. The idea to shift from quantity to quality and evolve to deliver a variety of content that ensures fun all over the world is a good mentality to have, as they stated right here. I think it's a good idea to go multi-platform at this point. I mean, sure, there's a good amount of people on the PlayStation 5, but as I've said before, the PlayStation 4 and the Switch is, not just the PS4, but the Switch is a massive player base, and Square Enix barely has a showing, at least for their new stuff, on that system. I'm sure they could port over a version of Final Fantasy VII Remake or one of the smaller games that they have in their repertoire. Maybe not a Final Fantasy Rebirth right now, but you could still do a cloud version. Same thing with Xbox. There's no showing of Square Enix on Xbox really. So I think it's about time that they shift their thing. And of course, that did lead to some layoffs inside the company. They laid off a bunch of people because they are switching from just being a PlayStation publishing studio to multi-platform. So some jobs had to be cut in order to hire people for other positions. This one doesn't hit as hard as some of the other ones, but it's still laying off people. So it's still gonna be a little bit annoying. In other PlayStation news, Herman Hulst and Hideki Nishino replaced Jim Ryan as the new PlayStation co-CEOs. I guess, Jim Ryan had said that he was kind of struggling with the fact that he had to travel so much for the job. So having one executive be at in Japan, and he can go to Europe pretty easily, and then you have the other guy who's in North America, and he can still travel if he wants to, but that's a pretty big journey to bump around from place to place. And I believe Jim Ryan lived in Europe, so he had to travel even more in order to go to different places. So I guess they're trying to solve that issue by having the two separate CEOs who work together. Herman Holst is the former managing director of Guerrilla Games, and he was the current PlayStation Studios chief. He led a new studio business group unit, and he will oversee the first party studios as well as other projects like PlayStation Productions, movies, and TV shows. And then Hideki Nishino, who led the organization's platform business group. He was also he'll be responsible for hardware, accessories, PlayStation Network, and third-party relations. So together they will replace Jim Ryan as the new CEOs, and then we'll see what happens. In a quote, Herman Holst said, "I am thrilled to lead the studio business group and continue to build on our success with PS5 while preparing for the future. The video game industry is one of the largest entertainment industries in the world and has been built on a marriage of content and technology, and I look forward to continuing to push the boundaries of play and entertainment." Nishido then said, "We will continue to connect players and creators through world-class products, services, and technology. We always strive to grow our community even bigger with innovation in every area at Sony Interactive Entertainment. I am honored to be appointed such an important role alongside Herman. By working more closely together, we will be positioned to build incredible experiences for an ever-expanding audience now and in the future." So this is a giant wait-and-see kind of thing. It does make sense to have two CEOs, but we'll see how it goes in the future. Continuing with the PlayStation news. There is a PS2 emulator that appears to be coming to the PS5 and PS4 for PlayStation 2 games. It seems like we're going to be getting some PlayStation 2 games on the PlayStation Store with the PlayStation Plus Premium subscription. There was already a listing for the Star Wars The Clone Wars game that was on the PS2, which we actually played on Twitch a long time ago at this point, before I knew how to highlight my streams, so it's kind of lost in time, but there are clip compilations on my YouTube channel. But it seems like they will be expanding the PlayStation Plus program into the PS2 era, with the aforementioned Star Wars The Clone Wars listing. They also said that there will be Rewind available for the game, along with updated controls and newly added features. I'm not sure what the other newly added features are, but who knows? There was some PS2 games that were released on PS4 back in the day, but they were pretty lackluster and they were poorly received. So hopefully these new versions of the emulation software and emulated games will do better and have better emulation. It would be great if they added a bunch of new games from the get-go, a bunch of staples in the PlayStation library, like the Ratchet and Clank games. They already have the Jack and Daxter games because that already had a PS4 version, but the Sly Cooper games could be put. Well, that's PS. Well, that is PS2. They could put the Sly Cooper games on there. I mean, there's a whole bunch of games that could come to the system that would really probably be no hassle to do. But we'll see how. We'll see how it goes. And I mean, I've been playing a lot of PS2 games on stream, so in terms of like how well have they aged, it's not too bad. It's just, I think because the X button was pressure sensitive, it makes a lot of those racing games a bit annoying, but that could be solved with updated controls, nothing too crazy. Lastly, for Sony specific news, it's been rumored that LEGO Horizon Adventures is a real game that is in production, and it will feature a realistic Horizon game, but made out of Lego. There was a Lego set available for Horizon where Aloy was climbing one of the tall boys, and I guess does it make sense for them to do a Lego Horizon game? It's probably going to be PlayStation exclusive, like. I don't know. I mean, if this is actually coming from TT Games or maybe a subsidiary, it's I don't know if it's going to be worth it to put so many resources into a platform-specific game. Lego has always sold well because it's multi-platform, But I guess we'll have to wait and see. People are predicting that at the next PlayStation showcase that they will show off the collaboration. It could be a whole game. It could just be a smaller experience. I don't know. It's all a rumor right now, so it might not even be real. But we'll have to wait and see. All right, Microsoft has revealed a new accessibility controller. They can actually pre-order now if you want to check it out. It is essentially a bunch of like cubes that have magnetic or whatever kind of latching buttons that can be configured in many different ways. The cubes can be stacked in many different ways, making the controller accessible for one-handed gaming, or if you have trouble gripping controllers, making the controllers any way you kind of want to. Which is a really cool idea, really cool. I mean, it's a really cool design. I think this might be more, well, I mean, maybe not more accessible than their other controller, which is, I'd say this is geared toward a more specific type of disability than the other accessibility controller. It seems more geared towards like a single-handed kind of play style or something like that. Whereas the other accessibility controller is much more for people with maybe like cerebral palsy or something like that, where it's hard for them to hit buttons on a controller because it doesn't work the same way as most people. So in a press release, they said this unique modular video game controller kit features innovative snap-and-play parts that easily connect together and come with everything that a gamer needs to play their favorite Xbox and PC games right out of the box. What's included? A power cube ×2, a charge spacer, an analog cube, left-right half cubes, edge spacers, Xbox peripherals, a D-pad peripheral, trigger peripheral, left-right triggers, one-button peripherals, multi-analog sticks, mini analog sticks, socker cover, plug covers, and a plug mount cover, and of course it all charges with USB-C. Yeah, so you can support up to 12 buttons on these cubes. And the one thing that's not accessible about this is the price tag. It's about $250 if you get it on sale, but the regular price is $300. But there is a sale going on right now. If you pre-order, you get 15% off. And it's expected to ship in fall of 2024. Yeah, the $300 price tag is a bit expensive. I mean, a lot of people are gaming on a budget. So I mean, whew, I mean that's a lot of money. So yeah, but I mean the idea of it is the whole idea of the controller is nice though. I think that's a really cool design. Obviously they've probably been testing this for a while, so hopefully if there is someone out there who does need it, they have the funds, they can get this and they can play games with a bit more comfort, I would say. Microsoft has announced the dates for the final 2 Xbox 360 store sales. This is, of course, predating the closure of the Xbox 360 store. So if you want to buy something that's exclusive to the digital storefront of the Xbox 360, the time would be either June 18th or July 16th. There will be as many games reduced in price as possible, they're saying. So they said, to celebrate the legacy of Xbox 360, we're working with our amazing publishing partners to bring you as many price reductions from our online store or from the Xbox 360 store on the console. We'll be updating the list with more games on June 18th and July 16th, bringing you as many reduced prices as possible before the end of July. These prices reductions will remain in place for each game through the 360 store closing on July 29th. So I guess that they're just doing they're adding on to the sales, and the sales stay for the rest of the lifespan of the 360. Now, yeah, it might be a little bit difficult to buy stuff directly from the 360 store. I haven't done it in a while, but I know on the PlayStation, even like the PlayStation 4 at this point, you need to put money either on the PS5 or you need to buy a digital card and put it into your wallet before buying something from even the PS4, which is really ridiculous. I don't know if it's like that on the 360. Like I said, I haven't bought anything from the 360 in a very long time, and at this point, I don't even think I can, because I don't have access to my old email account that I use for this Xbox. So yeah, it's kind of that account will only be alive until my Xbox dies at this point, which is kind of sad. But I don't think my Xbox is going to die, knock on wood, because I take so good care of it. All right, more Microsoft news. Microsoft has committed to putting the next Call of Duty game on Xbox Game Pass no matter what. They were debating on whether they should or should not, because obviously it's going to make a lot of money if they don't. But now they said that they are planning to make sure that the newest Call of Duty is on Xbox Game Pass. It's going to be a first-party game, and they're going to stick to their first-party mantra. So that means that if you have Xbox Game Pass on console and or PC, you'll be able to get it at no extra cost. You will still have to buy it if you have a PS5, PS4, or if you want to buy it on like Steam or something like that. So they'll still make some money, of course, but I don't think it's going to be, I mean, at this point, I don't think it's going to be one of the best-selling Call of Duties ever. Still will probably sell pretty well, but if you have a lot of people playing on Xbox Game Pass, which maybe this will allow the Game Pass to get some more subscribers. I mean, people are going to want to play the game and probably not pay the $70 price tag for it, so you may or may not get some more Xbox Game Pass subscriptions. Maybe that's what they're counting on to offset the amount of funds that will be going down the drain because it's coming to Xbox Game Pass, but yeah, we'll see. They're expecting to we're expecting a reveal during the Xbox Game Showcase on June 9th, so we'll see if that's the date. And then finally, in Microsoft news, Activision has tasked a new studio with crafting a narrative-based game series. The studio is called Elsewhere. There is no official logo or anything like that yet. But the Warsaw, Poland-based Elsewhere Entertainment will develop a narrative-based and genre-defining AAA franchise. And it's crazy that they're making this studio after all those layoffs they just did. Why don't you just move some people to this studio, huh? But it's reported that the staff is built from people who have worked on The Last of Us, Uncharted, The Witcher, Destiny, Far Cry, and Tom Clancy's The Division. So we'll see what they can cook, and we'll see what they start working on. I'm sure we'll hear about it sometime in the future. And, yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, Ubisoft has canceled The Division Heartland. This was, I believe, like a Battle Royale free-to-play spin-off of the Division series. Heartland was going to be... I don't know. It was going to be the next big thing for the Division. I guess that's all I got to say. It was supposed to be a pretty big game, of course, but I think that the hype is kind of... I mean, I didn't even remember that this game was coming out. I know I talked about it for a while when it was revealed, but it's one of those games that was announced and then kind of went silent. And now that the Ubisoft is canceling it, now we know the fate of the game. Ubisoft said, after careful consideration, we have made the tough call to halt development on Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland. Effective immediately, our priority now is to support the talented team members at Red Storm Entertainment Studio, who will be transitioning to new projects within our company, including X-Defiant and Rainbow Six. So I'm guessing they're putting these people on X-Defiant and Rainbow Six Siege, and we'll see if the Division 3 is coming around as well. It's possible that they're just going to maybe take this Heartland idea and just put it as a side mode in the next Division game. Who knows? But at this point, the game is canceled. Maybe it'll be revived in some way, somehow. If you don't recall from, I think it was a few weeks ago now, I talked about how Take-Two had shut down Roll7 and Intercept Games, two studios that are they have a very good output of games, including Ollie Ollie and Rollerdrome and Kerbal Space Program. So when IGN did essentially an interview with the CEO Strauss Zelnick, he said that they didn't shutter those studios. He says that the company is always looking at our release schedule across all of our studios to make sure that it makes sense. So we are being very judicious because we are in the middle of a cost reduction program that we've already concluded and are now fully rolling out. We've announced that we are saving $165 million in existing and future costs, but we haven't shuttered anything. Well, fucking la-di-da. Give this guy a round of applause. They're saving so much money. But you know how you save that money? By closing the studios. What is he talking about? They definitely closed these studios. It doesn't make any sense. When IGN asked them a follow-up question, the PR person came in and said, what we've said is in the 8K filing that we put out and talked about, the cost reduction plan is approximately 5% reduction in headcount worldwide, but we did not give a label by label breakdown of what that looks like. When they asked for more clarification again, they said, "We have not provided any additional color beyond what I just said. We just tend to leave those announcements to the label, so we're not trying to be cute or difficult today." None of this makes any sense. It was reported that they closed the 2 studios. Those are the 2 studios they closed to save some money. And now they're saying that, no, we didn't close the studios. They're still there. But if you go there and look inside their windows, there's no one in there. The same thing happened in 2013 when they shut down the BioShock 2 developer 2K Marin. This is reported by Jason Scherer. They would not acknowledge that they did it, but they acted in press releases as if the studio did exist when in fact it did not exist. So I think the same thing is happening here, where they closed Roll7, they closed Intercept Games, but they're saying, "Oh no, we didn't close them. They're still there," when they're probably not. So we'll wait to hear more about this, but as of right now, it sounds like businessmen are being businessmen. And finally, for the news today, Fallout is coming to Fortnite, the Fortnite Battle Royale Fallout Edition. There's not really much to say about it right now, but the iconic Brotherhood of Steel power armor is in the background behind some sort of power plant or something like that. So I'm guessing they're going to add like maybe a new area to the map that's Fallout themed or something like that. And possibly you'll be able to pick up the power armor as maybe a power-up or something like that in the game, kind of like how the lightsaber and those other weapons are strewn about on the battlefield. So it's possible that there's either going to be a skin that is the Brotherhood of Steel armor, or it's going to be a pickup that you can get on the ground. I don't know what characters they're going to be putting into the game yet. Maybe they'll put Vault Boy in there. Maybe they'll put characters from the show in there. It's hard to say at this point. But hey, man, we know that Fallout's as pretty popular right now, especially with the TV show just wrapping up and the games are selling really well. So it only makes sense that they're going to put something Fallout related inside of Fortnite. What it will exactly be, though, we don't know yet. Just we know it's coming. So I'll let you guys know when we find out more. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what's coming soon. Okay, Assassin's Creed Shadows has been officially announced. What used to be called Codename Red is now called Shadows. This is the Assassin's Creed game that is going to be set in feudal Japan, something that people have been asking for since pretty much the beginning of the series. There was 2 trailers that came out. One of them was a cinematic reveal trailer. The other one was a character deep dive. The game is going to release on the 15th of November. There is, of course, a regular and a deluxe version if you so desire to get that. In the trailer, it says, "Live the intertwined stories of Nayo, and an adept shinobi assassin from Iga province, and Yasuki, the powerful African samurai of historical legend. Against the backdrop of a turbulent late Sengoku period, this remarkable duo will discover their common destiny as they usher in a new era for Japan." So you're actually going to be able to play as either Nayo or Yasuki, depending on what you want your playstyle to be. Obviously, Nayo is more of the assassin type character, and Yasuki is probably going to be more of like a, Rise of Ronin combat heavy kind of thing going on. It sounds like Assassin's Creed Syndicate, more or less, where you'll be able to switch between the 2 characters, and the story will revolve around the 2 characters. This time, though, they're not twins, so it'll be interesting to see how they portray the future stuff, if they do any future stuff at all. I mean, Assassin's Creed Mirage didn't have any future stuff, so maybe this game won't have any future stuff either. It'll just be a story. But the way the reason why Assassin's Creed Syndicate's future stuff kind of worked is because they were like, oh, they're twins, they share DNA, we can see both their timelines, right? Where in this case, it doesn't exactly add up if they're going to be doing a future story, but we'll have to wait and see. As for the gameplay, one person is assassin, one person is more brutal. It looks like the samurai has various long swords that he can use, or long weapons, while Naoi, the assassin, has more short-range stuff, and of course the regular assassin stuff. I'm sure that there will be some sort of storyline with the famous feudal Japanese leaders, and we'll have to wait and see how the story goes. I'm interested in it for sure. It is it's a $70 game, of course, with the gold edition being $110. But the trailer looks really good, but that's the thing. It is just a trailer. We haven't seen any gameplay for it. I do want to see the gameplay. I'm sure they're gonna have a breakdown of each character's moveset and stuff like that in the near future. There is an Ultimate Edition as well for $130 that bundles in character and hideout packs along with skill points, photo mode filters, and the DLC pass and early access to the game. I think 3-day early access for the game. So the fact that they're already having DLC packs, not really a super big fan of that, but I think it's a very interesting idea. I like this a lot. I like the two different characters kind of working together here. Little known fact, Yasuke, the African samurai, they're they're a real historical person. And of course, no matter what you say, it's like, okay, whether he actually was a samurai or not, it's all kind of lost to history at this point. You can look at him as more of a slave. You can look at him as actually being a samurai. You can look at him as being, I don't know, whatever. The fact of the matter remains that this is still a work of fiction at its core. It's historical fiction, but it is still fiction. And Ubisoft can do whatever they want with these historical figures. We've seen it in the past with multiple different people from history. We've had mythical people before. Blackbeard, he is kind of like a myth, even though we have records of who he kind of was, he's still pretty much a myth. Any of those pirate captains are kind of mythological at this point because they seem larger than life, right? You can all go all the way back to the Assassin's Creeds of old, where it's you have Da Vinci, making things for Ezio. You have George Washington teaming Connor is the reason why the Revolutionary War starts, and he teams up with George Washington. There's so many, they always do a spin on history, and it makes sense that they're going to put a spin on this history as well. And I think it's two very unique characters. I know a lot of people are kind of like, well, how are you going to blend in and be stealthy as Yasuke? He's an African man in a world of Japanese people. It's yeah, it's a good point, but he's designed to be the heavyweight, the one who's not doing the stealth. You're probably, the stealth missions are going to be Naoi for sure, and the more combat-heavy missions are definitely going to be Yasuke. I think they're going to split the characters up into two different mission structures. If they don't, and you're able to do stealth as Yasuke, sure, that is kind of goofy, especially if you're trying to blend in. How are you going to blend in as he looks like he's 6'5", he's got the heavy armor on, and of course he's a different skin color than everyone else there. I feel like that is a little bit goofy if they're going to try and sell it that way, but I don't think they are. And I think that I do have faith that the story and the project is going to have respect for Japanese culture and for Japanese people, and I think using the at least the one character of Yasuke is also a nice thing because how many people actually know, all of a sudden everyone's apparently a big either a fan or a detractor of this character. All of a sudden everyone's I can Google something too in 2 seconds and pull up whatever the first article is too. Yes, there's going to be conflicting reports about this character because it's a historical figure. So old that before records and stuff like that, and before photographs. I don't get why. I don't get it. I don't get the discourse really. But at this point, I'm just excited to see what this game is going to be. If it's going to be more like Syndicate, or if it's going to be more like the newer kind of Assassin's Creed games, we'll see. They've already confirmed that the map size is going to be about the size as Assassin's Creed Origins, which is pretty big already. So we'll see what they do with that landscape. I'm excited to see what they're going to do in general. We'll have to wait for more information, and right now I'm just interested in it. I'm interested. I want to see some gameplay before I do anything else, but. Yeah, I'm interested. They've sold me on the concept at least. All right, EA Sports College Football 25 officially has a release date, and it is July 19th for multiple platforms here. There will be two versions of the game. There is the standard version for $70, or there's a deluxe edition for $100, which comes with 3 days early access starting on July 15th, along with the Heisman Hopeful Ultimate Team Pack and 4,200 college football points. So they are monetizing this game like they do with most Madden games. Players of the game will come with 3 choice packs: the Alma Mater Ultimate Team Pack, the Cover Athlete Ultimate Team Pack, and the Bring Glory Home Ultimate Team Uniform item. They said in EA Sports College Football 25, experience explosive gameplay variety across 134 FBS schools and immerse yourself in the iconic atmospheres of college football as you chase college greatness. So yeah, the Ultimate Team is definitely going to be in there and the usual stuff, but they've released like a hype trailer, I guess you could call it, where they showed off some in-game stuff. It looks like they've given each team its own. I mean, I guess the major teams get their personality kind of branded into the game. You have them touching like the logo before they go onto the field, and you get the mascots, and the one guy's like riding the motorcycle, and there's the marching band on the field, and the crowd is cheering, and the marching band's going. I'm really hoping that this is going to be a really great game, because the old NCAA games and the old Madden games, of course, were really good. I mean, they were good. I mean, some of them were really good, but most of them were pretty good. And they had that feeling of like every team kind of has its fans and has its traditions and stuff like that. And now they're bringing all of that back for this college football game, which is great. I hope it doesn't play as stiffly as Madden has done in the past like 10, 15 years. I'm hoping it runs on its own engine. I hope that it has all the bells and whistles that you expect for a NCAA game. And more. I really do. And right now, the number of teams is great. They pretty much have included everyone in the college realm. So you know that I'll be playing as the Akron Zips, baby. But it's very exciting, and it's not too far off, July 19th. So we'll be able to play it sooner than I was thinking. I thought it was going to definitely be a little bit later. But I guess they kind of want to get it out right around that college football time. So I think it's a good time to put it out right in the middle of summer. People, kids are out of school. They want something to do. College football fans want to get their college football kick. There you go. Perfect time to release the game. Grand Theft Auto 6 has a release window, but it's been narrowed a little bit. It's been closed a little bit. Before they said that it was coming in 2025, but now it's coming in fall of 2025. Woo! Oh boy. So this came from an investor calling where they said the game was set to make $5.55 billion. And then he said that the outlook is closer to fall of 2025. So it's getting ready to. I'm guessing they're getting the hype cycle ready now. The marketing is probably getting ready to go now. They're polishing and finishing up the game. So I'm sure that by the time that maybe even during Summer Games Fest we'll see something. But I'm guessing more so around the time of like maybe like the Game Awards we'll see something for the game. But fall of 2025. There you go. Kind of around. It's probably gonna be around closer to Christmas time. But it says fall, so probably. I'm going to guess October, maybe November. October or November. All right, Multiverses is coming back, as we already know. The Joker has been announced, but also they just announced that there is a new single-player kind of mode, or story mode, I guess you'd say. There's like a rift for each character. There's mini campaigns themed around every character in the game that you can play solo or with friends. It's a PvE experience that they say, Rift mode. So essentially, you enter the Rift. There's like a couple different rifts you can choose with different difficulties, and it's almost like the roguelite mode from Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2, except I guess it's more centered around each character, I guess they're saying. But this is outside. It is a PvE kind of thing. It's outside the competitive scene. It's fun for all skill levels, they say. So it has you can put like modifiers in there for each of your runs and stuff like that. So it is really pretty much a roguelite mode, but I guess there's like maybe some sort of story going on. I don't think it's going to be on the same level as like, I don't know, Smash Bros. Brawl or even PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. But yeah, I'll have to wait and see. But it's really cool that they're adding this kind of new thing in there. The game is still planned to come out later this month, I think, right? Yeah, the 20th of May. So we'll see what it all entails very soon. Undisputed, the next simulation boxing game coming from Steel City Interactive, has a release date now for the 11th of October. It's coming to Xbox, Steam, and PS5. The in-game graphics look great for the game. It definitely reminds me of like those old UFC games that used to play from like EA and stuff like that. Graphically, it looks pretty good, and I'm not sure how it plays, though. I'm sure it'll play fine. The game will actually have some of the largest licensed boxers ever, including Tyson Fury, Muhammad Ali, Deontay Wilder, Oleksandr Isuk, and more. The gameplay looks pretty good. It features innovative footwork animation system and a heart rate based stamina mechanic, which could be kind of interesting. So if you want to check that out, there's two different versions. There's the regular version, and then there's also the 1993 version, the deluxe edition or whatever it's called, the deluxe WBC edition, which will include 1993 version of Roy Jones Jr. The deluxe edition will include a bunch of additional content, including younger versions of Tyson Fury, Canelo Alvarez, and Muhammad Ali. So yeah, it looks pretty good. If you're a boxing fan, you might want to put this on your radar. It's coming out October 11th, like I said. So if you want to check it out, there is a trailer on Undisputed's YouTube channel. Dave the Diver Godzilla expansion is going to be free on the 23rd of May. I didn't think it was going to be free, but it's actually going to be free. So on May 23rd, this free DLC expansion will be available to play in the game. It'll bring a new quest line for Dave's diving and restaurant management adventure, as well as talking the G-Force about the beast winding up the blue hole. Talking with G-Force. Oh, G-Force is one of those characters, right? You'll come face-to-face with the King of the Monsters himself as you explore underwater. Not only that, but the DLC will offer up an encounter with another kaiju, Ibara, Horror of the Deep. So if you want to check that out, that'll be available to download on the 23rd of May, completely free. Pretty cool. Horizon Chase 2 is it's officially coming to the PlayStation and Xbox on May 30th. This is the sequel to, of course, Horizon Chase 1, or Turbo, Horizon Chase Turbo. So Horizon Chase 2, it's confirmed to be coming just on May 30th. I think it's already available on Steam, I think. But now they're officially bringing it to consoles. There's local multiplayer, online multiplayer. It's an arcade racer. I mean, you're supposed to drive fast and whatever, and there's a bunch of different cars and stuff you can use. It looks pretty good. I have the original game on like 3 different consoles because it's been free everywhere: Epic Game Store, Steam, and PlayStation. So it's like I have the original game, but I've never really played it. So yeah, but there you go. Horizon Chase 2 will be available May 30th. Enotria, The Last Song, got a 15-minute gameplay overview, and actually it's been seen on a couple of streams on Twitch. I actually was watching someone play it not too long ago. They were playing a demo on Twitch, and it's looking pretty good. It's got a kind of like a Lies of P combat system where it's more about like parrying and reducing the will of the other character, so you can do massive attacks to them. It seems to be pretty intricate. There's a lot of different weapons to use, and each weapon kind of has a new face for you to use on your character. So it's not just because you kind of start out as like a bare bones puppet, and then you put on these costumes for each different weapon. It's pretty cool. It's looking pretty good. If you want to check out the gameplay trailer, it's on IGN's YouTube channel. And there is a slight delay for the game. It's now coming out on September 19th. And there's also so there is an 8-hour playable demo that is coming to the PS5 and Xbox. And then you can also you can play it on May 22nd. I'm sorry, you can play it on May 22nd. There's going to be over 120 weapons spread across 8 distinct categories. Blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, pretty cool looking. So if you want to check that out, that'll be available later this year. But there is a trailer available right now, and there is a demo going to be available on the 22nd. Concord. This game was revealed at a State of Play last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember. But this is a game coming from Firewalk Studios. Haven't really heard too much about it since its reveal, but it is going to launch sometime in 2024. It has been kind of confirmed at a business briefing in Japan. The notes and release schedules are always subject to change, of course, but they said that the tentative date is sometime in 2024, sometime after the final shape, Destiny 2 The Final Shape, which is out on June 6th. So we'll see when exactly this is going to be released. There's probably going to be more information at the PlayStation Showcase, but we do know that it probably is coming in 2024, maybe 2025. The Rogue Prince of Persia is now releasing on May 27th. They decided to give it a bit of a delay since Hades 2 came into early access last week, and they wanted to make sure that the games are separated enough that people don't just play Hades 2, they want people to play their game too. So it's now coming May 27th. If you want to check that out, it is on my wish list on Steam. I'll definitely be picking it up. It looks very good. I'm very interested to see how it plays, how it all works. The trailers look great. They just released a new one on Ubisoft's YouTube channel, and it is a side-scrolling roguelite, but the graphic style is really nice. And like I said, it's kind of reminiscent of like a Dead Cells, but it's definitely got its own flair, a lot more platforming to it. The platforming looks a lot more like the Lost Crown, which came out earlier this year. It also seems like it's only a one-hit kill kind of thing, if I'm not mistaken, which could be kind of interesting. Keep you on your toes. So yeah, definitely very interested in that. Like I said, that's coming May 27th on Steam. Nintendo has released a couple new games for the Game Boy, for the Switch Online service, the Game Boy Collection. We have Super Mario Land, we have Alleyway, and Baseball. Alleyway is like Breakout, so not too crazy, nothing too crazy there. Baseball is exactly what it says. It's a baseball game on the Game Boy. And Super Mario Land, I know a lot of people are very excited about this one. It's not the Mario game that I really wanted. There's one called Donkey Kong that is on the Game Boy that has eluded me for a while. It starts out as like Donkey Kong the arcade game, but it turns into something so much more. I've been really wanting them to put that on the service, but this is also good too. So I'll probably be checking this one out eventually. Maybe not so much Baseball and Alleyway, but I'll probably check them out maybe eventually down the road. In Japan, they received an extra release. They got Keru no Tame ni Kane wa Naru, the frog for whom the bell tolls, which was originally released by Nintendo in 1992 and has some connections to The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. So that's not coming to the American version. You'll have to use a Japanese account in order to access that. 13 new games are joining PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium tiers next week. For the Extra tier, we have Red Dead Redemption 2, Deceive Inc., The Sims 4 City Living, Crime Boss Rockay City, The Settlers' New Allies, Stranded Alien Dawn, Cat Quest 2, The Lego Movie 2 video game, and Watch Dogs. Pretty interesting slew of games there. And then the PlayStation Plus Premium games are all from the PS1 area. We have 2 Extreme, G-Police, and Worms Pinball. All games I have not heard of, or at least I don't exactly know about. But it's always cool to see more PS1 games come along, and like I said before, maybe we'll get some PS2 games in the near future. And then finally, here are some games that are leaving Xbox Game Pass on May 31st. We have Chicory, A Colorful Tale, Far World Pioneers, JoJo Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle, Pac-Man Museum Plus, Little Witch in the Woods, and Railway Empire 2. All those games are going to be leaving. The only game that I really wanted to play here was Chicory, and I've been waiting to play that for a while. I don't know why I haven't played it yet, but maybe I'll try and boot that up before the end of May just to say that I've done it. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the final part of the show, which is everyone's favorite Guess That Song. If you know the song name and the name of the game that it came from, I'll give you a super reaction in the Discord or a hearty congratulations in the YouTube comments. Let's go ahead and hear what today's song is right now. Okay, if you know what that song's name is and the game it came from, just let me know in the comments below or in the Discord. All right, folks, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Ferret64. I do appreciate that. If you want to check me out on any of my other locations, it's all at Yemmy the Ferret, whether it be on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, etc. We stream on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays with the Ferret Cafe podcast being every other Thursday live recorded. Right now we are playing Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga, and we'll move on to something different throughout the week. And then the June contest is coming up. The June, July, and August contest is coming up. If you want to join in on that, that's all in the Discord. Lots of prizes and stuff to be had for that. And then I also do another podcast called Film Freaks with a Z. We most recently talked about Planet of the Apes from 1968. It's doing some pretty good numbers, so if you guys want to keep that up, I really appreciate that, and everyone in the podcast will, of course, appreciate that. It was a great conversation, and if you want to check it out, it's on my YouTube channel. There's also Yemmy the Ferret VODs channel where you can rewatch past streams if you so desire. All right, y'all. I am, of course, Yemmy the Ferret, and this has been another episode of Ferret 64. I appreciate you so much. I'll talk at you next week. Bye bye.
The Ferret 64 podcast is owned and edited by Yemmy the Ferret. The song Nightshade, used in the intro and outro, is owned by Adhesive Wombat. Small sound clips during the podcast were made by Yemmy the Ferret. News sources include NintendoLife.com, PushSquare.com, and PureXbox.com. All opinions video game related are my own. Thank you for listening.